Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard D. the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
It is Monday, March 9th, 2026. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/gamingdiscourse, patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. You can support us for $2, $4, $7, $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. Our schedules have been weird. Things have been going on. We've had to move buildings. We've had to do crunch. This is all of us, not just one of us. We've all had to endure these indignities. But now we're all back together for the most part. Connor has to remote, which is fine. But Richard's here with me. So hello.
Been some time.
We have a shit ton of news to get to. A lot has happened since our last rendezvous. And I've also been playing lots of games. And Richard, you have been playing some games.
Just a couple, yeah.
And Connor, have you been playing games?
A few.
A few? Okay. We'll start with Richard then. I'm excited to hear about what you've been playing.
I've been dabbling into Diablo 4 again after some time. Because when it first came out, I did get around to it. I don't remember how long I was playing, but I eventually stopped. And Diablo, the series, at least since 3, was kind of a game that me and my wife played all the time. And about a month and a half ago, she got the itch to start playing it again. Because we never really got our hours in together on that game. So she wrote me into it. Or, well, yeah. And by extension, she wrote me into it. But what also brought me back was all the like updates they gave to the game. Because it's been kind of a live service. It's changed into like a live servicey type game now.
Yeah.
So they do have like battle passes. They have what they call reliquaries. And then it's very... I don't want to say generous, but they give you options as far as what you can do. You could choose like there's 4 different types of battle passes. So there's like if you want like weapon cosmetics, or if you want like mount cosmetics, or if you want there's like 2 other types of cosmetics that you can get. But if you want, as you're killing enemies and stuff, you get XP, and then you gain a level, which they give you a little coin, and you can exchange that coin for one Helldiver style.
Oh,
like, you know, you gain the coin, and then and then you have the choice of what you want to get. So it's basically that style. And so actually that just clicked in my head that it's very similar to that style, not set up the same way, because Arc Raiders and Helldivers are set up exactly the same. Yeah, Diablo is set up a little different. So but I've been finding that I'm enjoying it a lot more, and it feels different than I remember in a good way. I play Rogue mostly, and I never really liked how my character felt while playing it. This time around, though, I don't know what happened, but there seems to be a better feel to it as far as like the abilities go and how you drop them, or at least how you activate them, depending on your timing. And there seems to be a lot more. I'm happy with a lot more of the drops that I'm getting.
Okay.
A lot more of the equipment that I'm getting. A lot more of the extra abilities that come with those equipments. So I'm trudging along through that, and I've been having a good time. I'm waiting till I finish up, at home with more personal stuff to get to other games. So when I have time, usually before bed, I've been playing, moving on from Diablo, I've been playing Pinball Spire.
Nice.
Because I'm a big pinball fan, and if you played Pinball Spire, it's a simple game about a little sentient pinball who... like there's a spire that just like shows up in his land, and he's like, I'm gonna climb that. So yeah, you're just playing pinball as you're like ascending a spire, and as it's I guess Metroidvania-esque. So as you go through each like section, it gets bigger and more intricate, and they teach you more things about it. So
is that on Steam Deck?
That's on. Yeah, I'm playing on Steam Deck. Yeah, and then I mean, you can get it on PC as well, but it definitely plays very well on Steam Deck.
Yeah. Do you use the back like flaps? What do you use for like the pinball?
I probably could if I wanted to, but I hate those buttons.
You hate those?
I hate that. I
love those buttons.
Anytime those buttons are. I'm an old man.
You okay?
Yeah, no, it's hot. It burned me.
Your laptop?
Yeah, my laptop charger.
We don't have insurance here.
That's okay. That's okay.
So this is you can't.
You know,
sue me
I
for
solder
malpractice.
at work, so it's nothing. This shit ain't nothing to me.
Yeah, you're not supposed to solder your arm, Richard. I don't know. If
Well, you know, sometimes I go, hey,
a guy comes in with a PS2. Can you fix this? And you're just like Charlie Kelly. You're like, yeah, sure. Ah, and you're just like burning your own arm. Sorry, I was concerned. I know you were in the middle of a thought, but I was like, did Richard just like cut open his arm? I can't see.
No, yeah, the charger that's charging my laptop. What was it? We were talking about Pinball Spire. Oh yeah, the buttons on the back. Yeah. I haven't set them up for like the game. I could though if I wanted to, but any back buttons on any of those controllers, I've never been a fan of because
clearly Gabe sent a surge through the power and was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, you know, Mr. Incredible on Incredibles 2. Math is math. You know,
yes.
For me, it's like if you can't play on the original controller, you fucking suck. You don't need other extra buttons. You know, so I'll probably use them. Actually, that does sound like a good idea. At least for that game, that sounds like a good idea. So, I picked it up and I'm excited to try it out. But there was about 3 years ago, there was a collection of games that came out. Not a collection on its own, but just like they released within the span of like a half year that all were not necessarily similar, but they were all made by developers, smaller developers that I was really interested in. Flintlock was one of them.
Okay.
Banishers was the other one. And the third one was called Unknown 9 Awakening.
Yes.
And that came into my store finally. Like,
oh, cool.
Never seen a physical copy, but I always wanted to play it. So it was like $9. So I was like, give it to me. And I'm excited to play that. I know it's not like fine from what I understand, like what reviews say, but I'm very excited to get to it. One day though.
I picked up Banishers for the same reason, and I haven't played it. Shame, ring the bell. But I have a physical copy of Banishers that I will get to one day, hopefully.
And then I also made a mistake of looking in the PlayStation catalog, like what you can download. It's just astounding selection of games, better than Game Pass, but Sony doesn't want to, advertise it very well.
It is weird that they kind of, well, Sony's changing up their strategy, so we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, Connor, what have you been playing?
So a couple things that I wanted to bring up from the Steam Next Fest. I played some of the demos from that. The three that I wanted to talk about the most were Acceptable Losses, which is a text-based World War I squad management game.
Whoa.
What was that?
I said, whoa.
Oh, yeah. The Rat Line, which is an investigative detective thriller where you work with an anonymous group of Holocaust survivors to hunt down the surviving Nazis. And Battle Plan, which is a battle plan simulator that takes place during World War II, and it's very much like a grand strategy. Like the lowest level command you can give out to is company level, so it's still a lot of people moving around.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, in Acceptable Losses, it's text-based. You get you get missions that you have to send squads on. The squads have their own like camaraderie rating, their exhaustion rating, and their general health and how many of them they are. And you have to balance out sending people, on more dangerous missions versus, just standing guard. But if they're, too tired, they might fall asleep while standing guard. So it's balancing that out, while also putting yourself in command of squads during these missions, to give them a little morale boost, as well as trying to maintain, high command's trust in you during this whole operation. It's very fun, very stressful, and it's a nice little look into squad management possibly during the Great War.
Yeah, I've always wanted. There's another game that is a radio command game that's set in Vietnam that I've had on my wish list for a long time. That premise actually, I think, is an interesting premise that I want to try in a game somewhere. The detached commander premise, where you're like, go take this bunker, and then you get another report 5 minutes later. You lost 50 dudes or whatever. That sounds like a really cool premise.
In the Rat Line, the investigative thriller, all takes place at your corkboard, where you're gonna put up pictures of people and put strings between them. But you can go over to your phone, make some calls, try and figure out where people are, and you're just creating a timeline of where they went after the war and what their new alias is and where they can be found. And it's very fun. It's a really good detective game. Also, there's a dog that sits next to the corkboard and sleeps and snores, and you can pet him. So 10 out of 10.
Absolutely. That was cool.
And then battle plan, kind of like Acceptable Losses, only at much more grand scale. It all takes place on a map, and you draw your battle lines. You draw your battle plans. This regiment or division or whatever level that you're commanding to do so. Either like a spearhead attack here or just a general advance across this whole line through here, and it's interesting because it takes place over it's minute by minute, but the minutes take up rather fast just on the normal speed. But you have to manage your independent macro level organizational resources, capture command or supply zones, make sure that you don't get your own guys too far ahead and then get encircled and have to break them out or relieve them, while also trying to encircle and capture enemies and or their generals if possible. But yeah, it's a very hands-off game. You create big plans, you say go for it, and then you watch everything fail because no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Those sound really cool.
No matter how much I try and dive into Next Fest, there's always games that I miss, and I hate that. I hate that so much. I haven't heard of any of these games, and my Steam algorithm is filled with military games that only 40-year-old men in tube socks play. And so the fact that I don't get
here's
these...
the secret, right? They have a queue that you can go through in the Next Fest like you do for your normal Steam store. And one night, it was a Friday night, and I had nothing to do. I spent 6 hours just going through that. Just next game. All right, this one looks interesting.
Yeah.
Check it out. All right, some of the things look interesting. Scroll. AI, delete it. Get it out of my site. Next one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. Awesome. I'm probably going to download those demos and try them out myself because I believe they're still on the Steam page.
They are.
Steam.
I've played Battle Plan a lot.
Revolutionizing how games have been done all over again. Good. There was another what's that Battle of Britain game where it's a turn-based dogfighter.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
That's cool. That sounds awesome.
You plan out your airplane maneuvers.
Whoa!
And then it happens 1 second at a time. So you if you turn right or whatever, your aircraft turns and then it pauses and you're okay, where's the bad guy going? So you kind of have to guess and predict where people are going. There's a bunch of different factors. If you turn too hard, there's G-forces.
Right.
You can throttle down and throttle up. But I remember one time there's an enemy flying perpendicular at me.
Yeah.
So in the next turn, they were going to have a shot on me because my belly was facing it was a BF-109. My belly was facing the guns. Mm-hmm. So in the next turn, we were going to cross paths and he was just going to rip into me and probably kill me. So I was like, okay, so how do I get out of this? So what I had my pilot do was I had my pilot pitch down. He's sideways. Yeah. So he's pitching to his left and I had him de-throttle. So basically what happened is instead of crossing paths with a BF-109, the aircraft, the Spitfire he was in, pointed at the ground and just tumbled a bit because I completely shut off the engines. But the BF-109 took shots because it predicted I was going to fly in front of it, so it missed me. But that game, that was also in the Steam Next Fest, but I refrained from it's all. No, maybe it wasn't. I think it's just it just came out actually, not the Steam Next Fest. It's out in early access now, and I would love to play that.
Sounds like Into the Breach.
It gets and when you have a big dogfight, it's just insane because no matter what you do, there's an enemy fighter that may have a shot on you, so you just kind of have to pray that they don't take that chance or whatever.
Right.
But anyway,
or that they hit a non-critical part of your plane.
Yeah, or that exactly. So I've been playing Resident Evil Requiem a lot. I think I'm pretty close to finishing it. I I legitimately think it's a Game of the Year contender. I think it's one of the best Resident Evils ever made. I think Grace as a character is really interesting. I think Leon as a character is really interesting. It does things that feel kind of old school in a way. There's a really awesome boss fight that reminds me of like old Metal Gear Solid boss fights. And when I got through it, I was like, that was awesome. That felt like an old Xbox 360 era, PS2 era even boss fight. And it was a ton of fun. It is ambitious in that, so I don't know if I would count this as a spoiler, but there are two playable characters, Grace and Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what they have done is they took Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4, and then they halved them and put those halves together and alternate it. So when you play as Grace, it is Resident Evil 2. You don't have as much ammo. You don't have super powerful weapons. The way that the levels are made, stealth is totally an option.
Okay, cool.
Zombies will if you watch zombies, they even have pre-planned patrol routes, right? Obviously the zombie doesn't think it's patrolling, it's just walking around. But outside of the game, like the zombie will walk to the left and wait, walk to the right and wait, and you can kind of time how to sneak behind it while it's doing that. So the game is designed with this in mind for you to spot that and go, I can sneak through this room, grab this thing, and then I don't have to waste a bunch of bullets killing these zombies. Mm-hmm. And you can maybe go back and wipe them out once you have lots of ammo or whatever. So you can like plan things later on. But then the game surprises you. You will complete an objective, and a zombie that was in a room a few minutes ago is now patrolling the hallway, and there's no warning. So you kind of have to be on your toes. So that's when you play as Grace. When you switch over to Leon, it is Resident Evil 4. So you have lots of weapons, you can upgrade your weapons, all that stuff, but you still have to be careful with ammo. You can't just like let loose, but your weapons are much more capable, much more varied, and you feel that it is more of like the action horror of RE4 when you play as Leon.
Cool.
The way that they have balanced it and go back and balanced it and sort of naturally weave between the two is really neat. And I wasn't sure how I would feel about it, especially if you're somebody that really prefers one of those styles over the others. But I think it works really well, and I think they pulled it off. And that's something I think is difficult to pull off, because you have two different tones that you're sort of throwing back and forth. And it's not like every other minute you're playing as a different character. Like the Grace's first section, at the beginning of the game, you get introduced to both characters, and there's a prologue. But then Grace's first like full section is a solid like 5-hour chunk. And then it goes to Leon, and Leon's next section is a solid, 3, 4, 5-hour chunk, depending on how much exploration you do and stuff. So you play out these parts in chunks. You're not going like back and forth all the time, which I think helps with the pacing. But that they were able to pull off this back and forth, I think, is really interesting. And was really complex to do, but they did it. And I think it shows that there's a lot more that they could do. Because I remember the thing with like Resident Evil 4 was, I remember, not at the time, but since, you can find articles of people writing like, Resident Evil 4 is too good, because what do you even do after this, right? And of course, 5 and 6, some people like them, some people don't. And I still haven't played 6. But like, I think a lot of people will tell you that's where the series started to like peter off and get weird.
Right.
And then it picked it up again with 7. But what this shows is that like older survival horror RE2, they can still do really well. There's still really cool ideas that they have to like keep that fresh and different.
Right. And
then they also have ideas to do Resident Evil 4 stuff, where it's you can buy weapons and you get all these upgrades and it's a little more action-y. Even the level design is different. Like as Leon, you get sniper rifles and stuff like that, but you get a silencer, a suppressor. And so because stealth is an option, if you kill a zombie with a suppressor, the other zombies won't hear. Cool. So there are chunks of the game where you can go through it and it becomes Splinter Cell, where you wait for a zombie to turn around, you shoot the zombie that's next to him, his head explodes, and then you shoot the other zombie, his head explodes, and a fight that may have taken you 10 bullets to kill these two zombies instead takes you 2 bullets because you got 2 headshots and you got them while they weren't looking at each other.
Right.
So there's a little more strategy there, and I think that's awesome. Not only is it fun and dynamic and make you think about how you want to take on enemies, it feels cool. Because you do feel like this like spec ops badass who is like slowly going through and systematically like eliminating these super dangerous enemies, you know? And then when you go back to play as Grace, you just have a pistol, you don't have a suppressor, so it's like you're I don't want to call Grace a child. That seems demeaning, but she's much more verbal. Leon is, oh fuck, that kind of thing. His one-liners are hilarious. I can't wait for you to.
He's the best.
I can't wait for you to hear some of them. But Grace is a lot more realistic in the sense that her fucks are like, what the fuck? Like, she's terrified.
Right. She's never been in that situation.
Like this is a whole new world. Leon has been through this. He's seen this. So but Grace is like, she's experiencing the Resident Evil monsters and zombies for the first time, and the way that they write a character realistically, like encountering these terrors, they do a really good job of it again. And so I think it's the most intriguing Resident Evil story, because it has to do with the beginnings of Resident Evil. It has to do with Leon as a character and where he's been and what he's doing, and also Grace. So Leon isn't just there because it's like, hey, you can also play as Leon. Right. Leon has his own subplot that matters to him, and Grace's subplot is like the main plot of the game.
Yes.
But they combine them both. They give both characters time to breathe. So Requiem is really ambitious. There's a lot of ideas. It really does feel like you're swapping between 2 different games. I don't really think I can compare it to anything. Like, the only other thing I can think of is Last of Us 2, where you go between Abby and Ellie, but that the gameplay stays basically the same, right?
Yeah, it does.
I think Ellie's like a little bit faster. I don't remember, but
I would also say, but it doesn't compare either, because both of them are the same Alan Wake 2.
Yes, that's another. That's kind of, now thinking about it, I think they basically have like the same weapons and stuff like that, where you have dual protagonists. But in this one, you really do, the pacing really does change. When you go to Leon, now it's like you're finding ammo everywhere. You can be a little more aggressive. When you play as Grace, it's okay, I need to conserve my ammo. I have to, conserve crafting. It's survival horror, not like action survival horror. So it's excellent, and I've had a ton of fun with it. Oh, the other difference with Grace is that if you play on classic mode, Grace is, you save at a typewriter, you have to use the ink.
Yeah, the ink ribbon. Yeah.
Leon has more auto saves. Again, like somewhat similar to RE4. So you don't have to worry as much about saving at you can lose progress, but you don't have. But there are sequences that are more split up by like autosaves and stuff like that, where you don't have to worry about running back to the whatever thing you're saving at. Yeah. But with Grace, it really is like, okay, I've spent 5 minutes exploring rooms and I got all this material. I should go back and save, because if I die by some random zombie,
then you're screwed.
I'm going to lose all that stuff. Yeah. So not only is the pacing different, but also like how the saving works is also different. Like with Leon, you don't have to save with ribbons. As long as you get to a thing and save, you're fine to save.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know. I'm playing on classic mode, which has made it really fun, because Grace, I thought like when I played as Leon, I thought to myself, oh, I wonder if I'm not gonna like the Grace sections because it's so much fun to be this monster killing badass. But then I played as Grace, and just the game's level design, its story, Grace's the actress's performance. I was like, you know what, I'm actually really enjoying both a lot. So yeah, I'll have a lot more to say once I finish it, and I think I'm fairly close to finishing it. It seems like a more focused title. Like in Resident Evil 4 is very long, and there's a bunch of like random extra stuff.
Yeah.
Same thing with Resident Evil Village. There's like extra boss fights and things.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. Yeah.
I think they kind of got rid of a lot of that. This is a little more linear, a little more classic. But in that you get a focus and a momentum that I think feels really nice. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that's one thing a lot of people were saying. Not that it's a bad thing, but it is one of the more bare bones Resident Evil games.
Yeah,
recent memory. Like, there's no mercenaries mode. There's no like extra.
There's no like shooting gallery,
no extra content. Yeah,
anything like that. But there's still weapon upgrades and like to for Leon, the way you buy things is you get points. They strip it down really simply.
Yeah,
you get points from killing zombies. It's that simple. And you go to a box, and at this box, those points allow you to buy weapons and ammo and upgrades. That's all. So you are incentivized to kill zombies when you're playing as Leon.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't really explain why Leon gets points for killing zombies, but it doesn't matter.
He just does. Yeah, it's a video game.
Because it doesn't have like a doctor guy there, or not doctor, the store guy, what you buy. There's no merchant. So they kind of, I see what you mean by bare bones, where they kind of yanked out like that aspect.
Yeah.
And they just went with like a really simplified, you're just at a box and you buy shit. And then obviously with Grace, you don't have to worry about all that because again, it's more RE2 where you're just finding stuff and you put stuff in a box and that box is in multiple safe rooms, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited to finish it. I'm really excited to see where the story goes. The goddamn RE engine, man. I cannot.
One of the best engines ever, I think.
I can't wait for you to see. Both characters can be played in first person or third person.
Oh, Leon in first person is interesting.
Yeah, I do both first person.
I don't know why I'm saying that. I would play the VR version.
Yeah, but they recommend. So the way that the game starts is, Grace is in first person, Leon's in third, and the reason for this is because Grace's sections are slower, more methodical, and more horror centric, right? So with that first person camera, it's more claustrophobic. You don't have this, you're going to feel more paranoid because you don't have your peripheral vision. And I get all that. But I just prefer the third person camera. It makes me, I don't know. I'm not going to feel as like, I'm not going to be super scared it doesn't take away from that immersion at all for me. So I played Grace in third person, and then I played Leon third person. And I think Resident Evil is just better third person.
It is a third person game.
Yeah. Outside of the VR experience, Resident Evil Village was great. 7 was fine, but my biggest complaints with those were always, I think they would just be better and they added a third person cam, so that'd be cool to see. But I think they would have just been better if they stuck with a third person camera angle, so you could take in all these ridiculous sights and set pieces and stuff like that. Okay, is that all we have to say for now?
Yeah, about everything we've been playing. Yeah.
Okay, we will hit the ad and go to news. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server.
Video games, right?
Video games. So we're going to start with the story behind Highguard's failure. Jason Schreier spoke to 10 former Wildlight employees about what went on behind the scenes. We haven't really talked about Highguard yet. On the show. We had last week off and the week before off, and to be honest with you, I was just like, I I don't know. It was, for whatever reason, I just didn't care. It's an important story, and I'm not saying it doesn't suck that people are fired, and obviously, but for whatever reason, just like all the discussion about Highguard at one point, it was just one of those things that I had to check out of for like my own mental health. But
you know how that feels.
I'm going to read a little bit from the story here and get into some details. So, quote again, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg. The story begins in 2021 when a small group of people who worked for Respawn decided to quit and start an independent company. They missed the freedom of their pre-EA days, Dusty Welch, co-founder and chief executive officer, told me in an interview last month. Welch didn't mention another key reason for the exodus. In 2019, they had released Apex Legends, a battle royale shooter in which dozens of players fight across a giant map. The game proved to be a massive success, generated more than $3 billion in revenue. Yet, as sales piled up, some of the creatives who had worked on it felt unhappy that they weren't benefiting enough from the resulting windfall, according to people familiar with what happened, who asked not to be identified discussing non-public information. The Wildlight founders decided to do things differently. One of their plans was to set up a profit-sharing program so that if the studio did deliver another big success, everyone would benefit. An enticing setup that ultimately helped Welch and his co-founders attract many of their former Respawn colleagues to the new company. Wildlight received significant funding from Tencent and decided against opening up the game beyond testers, so they didn't do like a big beta or anything like that, right. Which in the story they look back in retrospect and think was a mistake. Tencent's Teamy Studio Group worked closely with Wildlight, but Tencent employees are not in the credits, and neither Tencent nor Welch commented on the studio's Tencent funding. During an all-hands meeting on February 11th, Wildlight staff were told that Tencent had pulled the studio's funding, and Highguard announced it will shut down on March 12th, and I think it announced that just a few days ago. So it has been a hell of a few months for Wildlight and Highguard. Did any of us try Highguard at all?
I did not, no.
I did not.
I played one game, and I was like, it's fine, I guess. I don't know. With multiplayer games like that, it's like if I decide to get into it, I have to. I'm not going to play it by myself. Yeah. So it's like I have to try and think, can I get other people to play with me here? And then, do I want to invest the time in learning the strategies and learning the weapons? Because I think multiplayer games are like a bigger investment in that way, where you have to keep up with things and invest in the characters, and their different abilities and whatnot. And I was just like, no. And also, but then the game itself was like fine. It wasn't horrible, but it felt very generic. Aimed down the side of a gun, and the guns were like all super accurate.
Oh.
So we were like
no spreads or anything.
Not with the guns I was using, and it didn't seem like there was any reason to not use anything but just an automatic weapon.
Sure.
There were like shotguns and burst fire rifles and stuff like that, but for whatever reason it was just like you just pick up a machine gun and you're fine. Mm-hmm. So it just felt very familiar and plain. There were some cool ideas. There was destructible environments. At the end of a round, the enemy team is like breaking down your base and getting past a shield. So all of a sudden it goes from this big open map where you're like attacking each other from across, a kilometer or so, and it becomes a match set in a much more close quarters map, almost like a Halo or something, which is cool, is neat, whatever. But again, it never hit me where it was like, yeah, I could really get into this and learn about. It reminded me a lot of Battlefield 6's Battle Royale mode. It was just incredibly generic. Right. And there's armor in Highguard, just like there is in the Call of Duty Battle Royale in Warzone and in BF6. You wear armor, and so it's like you run into a guy and he has purple armor and you only have blue armor, so he wins. It's just like, okay, I don't know. There's a lot of mechanics that have been popularized over the past 10 years that I just don't care about. I don't find that interesting. And so I didn't play very much. I only played one game. But after that, it was like, yeah, even if Highguard was a success and it was going on for a long time, there's just nothing here that I found like super interesting or anything like that. So sorry. Do you guys have any thoughts about this, about Highguard in general? We haven't talked about this, so like, has anything been bubbling in the past few weeks or so since the whole saga has gone down?
I got a lot of like shake my head moments, you know, from the whole situation ever since its reveal at the Game Awards till now. Yeah, it sucks that they're shutting down, but it's unfortunate even more that you know, hindsight 2020, all that jazz. Seeing Highguard in the midst of Marathon, in the midst of Concord, in the midst of, to an extent, Arc Raiders, to an extent, Helldivers, you know, all these multiplayer games that are coming out. I'm exhausted. Like, I'm exhausted because it's, another multiplayer game that comes out that may or may not look cool to people. How do I now subtract the little time I already have to devote to this thing? When can I corral my friends together? Because online gaming has changed since Halo 2, Halo 3.
Yes,
like, it is not
time.
the same.
No, it's not.
I can no longer just jump in to a game and have fun with I don't want to talk to anybody anymore. You know? So it hurt so much to see that the game just, once again, like you said, looked generic, felt generic. Sucks even more to know that once again, the same trappings of the armor, the hierarchy of armor and weapons was there as well. But there is, of course, a lot of talk about how Jeff Keighley factors into all of this. Not to try to put any like of the larger blame on him. He may have enjoyed the game, and that's great. But to put a game like this in the limelight when it provided visually almost nothing different than what we've already seen kind of like was one of the biggest strikes against the game. Of course, it came out and there were already problems with it. It was 3v3, right? At the start.
Yeah, and the maps are really big. And the map that I played on was also very big, which that was the weird thing about it was very big, so it took forever to like find the other team.
Yeah.
But if you did see each other, weapons were so accurate that you could like have long range firefights. So it was just I don't know, it was fine.
But it was about a week and a half or 2 weeks after the game came out where they were like, "Oh, here's 5v5."
Yeah.
Then we find out, 5v5 was like kind of almost the plan from the start, but either they didn't have time or they didn't have funding, from what I read, and then there was the biggest knell was no beta testing or no closed alpha testing or anything like that. An unfortunate situation for a game, and another story that we're sitting here talking about that had plenty of red flags to it. That they should have, I don't want to say should have known better, but there probably could have been some course correction at some point, and maybe this would have turned out better. But also, being an online multiplayer game, it may have been shut down maybe a year or two from now. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
And that's so I think in the light of like Marathon, which apparently is successful, like Marathon's going good, I guess. I don't know. I haven't played it. That's another game that I wasn't interested in.
I have heard it has the coolest visual style in the world wasted on a multiplayer game.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I heard too. And I don't know. I'm not going to get into it for a long. I played Arc Raiders for a while. That was my multiplayer game once a year that I get into.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, I had my fun with that. And that was just because people were being nice in it. I think so. This story is specifically, I think, is interesting because one, this like obfuscation of Tencent's involvement is really interesting because I don't know why would you do that? Why are you if they're not hiding it, they're definitely not being forthcoming about it. Stephen Totillo was first to report about like their relationship with Tencent, and it's like, well, why is that?
Yeah,
that comes across like you're trying to hide something. Like there's a general backlash to Tencent, which there is, and some of that is fair, and some of that isn't fair. Some of it's racist and dumb.
To interject, do you think it was due to Tencent's reputation, or due to the fact that they wanted to kind of hit the angle of we're a plucky, smaller group that...
I really have no idea. That's a good. That it may be more that than Tencent. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like Tencent, I don't know if you. And how much of this was Game Awards, right? Because if Highguard just dropped, nobody cares that. Like, I'm sure there would be people out there that would like. I think Tencent's problematic. Lots of people think Tencent's problematic. But would it have the same kind of backlash as it did? That it received from debuting at the Game Awards as it would have if it just like shadow dropped. I don't know, maybe not, right?
Yeah.
It whether or not it was announced at the Game Awards or shadow dropped, it looks generic either way, right? But if it just drops, there's a trailer and then it comes out the next week or whatever, and they're open about their Tencent funding, is the backlash the same?
Right.
Because people don't have time to go online to complain because they're too busy rushing to play to rid themselves of like the FOMO that they feel or whatever. So maybe, I think that's partially true. I do think that part of the story for me is I have to think to myself, like, I don't know. I read that story and profit sharing is great. And I think, yeah, obviously there needs to be more of that. Devs should be paid more. Whatever a CEO doesn't, like, I don't know, Andrew Wilson hasn't done anything in his life that gets close to stuff that like actual developers have done.
That's correct.
So, so it's like, they should all be paid more, and that entire system needs to be reorganized. We all agree with this. But is this the best way to go about it? By forming a studio and starting a game that is getting into a genre that is saturated, and it's getting into a genre where you need retention from players, and within that you need to generate FOMO, and you need to obscure the price of currencies and stuff like that. All the games do it. There's all these like black magic tricks that live service economies exist on top of. And so it's like, I don't know, if you want to create a better games industry, which I do just as somebody who loves it from the outside and loves video games, and you want to make a place that's more equitable and better for workers, which I think everyone agrees, do you want to do that off the back of a live service economy, which is inherently, I think, not a great thing and has tons of problematic elements to it. And when I see this story, it makes me think that, because I don't know, I think about a studio like it's another WildStar, I don't remember. The studio that the founder of Blizzard, Mike Morhaime, he made, and they did a PvP space shooter where you're in spaceships.
Yeah, that's the game WildStar. Yeah.
That is the game.
The game is WildStar. I think the developer is Dreamhaven.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's what it's telling me here. Well, that's what.
And then they released
the internet lies.
They released a co-op like game that plays closely to a board game called Gloomhaven. It's like a co-op.
Oh yeah,
right, and it's very good. I've played some of it. So they have also struggled. I don't think they're shut down, but I think they did have to go through layoffs, and their games didn't perform very well. So they're like the flip side of the coin, where they tried things that were different and it didn't pan out for them, right? So I'm not saying that like, hey, if you just make a single player game, you would have been successful. That's not true. There's no like guaranteed success in the games industry. But again, is that if you want to build a better place to work and a better place in a better games industry, do you want to build it off the back of something that necessitates live service economics? And I think that's a real question that people have to grapple with, and one that we like aren't grappling with, like do you want your business to be contingent on key performance indicators, KPIs? Like, is that what you want your economics to be? Do you want to continue the trend of games holding back skins and what other bullshit behind behind live service barriers? I don't know. These are all bigger questions that I think we should ask ourselves at this time and place in the games and in the history of games. And then then we can get into like, well, should they have done a beta? Should they have not announced at the Game Awards? And those are all other complex problems, other complex questions. But I think above all that is, okay, maybe you don't announce at the Game Awards. Maybe you, I don't know, maybe you shadow drop it, whatever. But for me, the biggest question is the premise itself rotten? And that's a much more interesting and I think potent question and discussion to have. The other thing that I think, I'm not sure like how to discuss this, but we kind of had, Richard, we kind of talked about it a while ago, and it's like there's a there's a section of the internet that is tired of live service stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe has always kind of disliked live service stuff. Because live service means microtransactions and it means horse armor. So there's that whole like it's vague and nebulous and it spills into other corners. But there's, I think, that like ideology, loosely speaking. And then there's the like the more, I don't want to call it passive, but just the people that just play stuff.
Yeah.
The audience that made Marvel Rivals a success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, there's a new thing, I'm gonna go play it. These people maybe have grown up, like maybe they were born like after 2005 or something.
Yes.
So as they entered adulthood, video games for them were Fortnite, which meant they were already inundated with live service economics, with games by platform. So that is a normal thing, as opposed to like people close to death like us, who grew up in a time where you played Halo or, you know, games where the economics were completely different.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get here is like, I kind of wish that we, I don't know, we're able to like engage with those two markets and talk about them as separate things as opposed to one giant market, right? Because for the market that dislikes live service stuff, it does not matter how you announce Highguard, it's always going to be disliked because of the nature of a genre.
Right.
And it's the same thing with it was the same thing with Anthem, and it was the same thing with Kill the Justice League, right? When Kill the Justice League was announced as a live service game, there was a backlash.
Yeah.
But I don't think that backlash necessarily led it to being a bad game or performing poorly. I think that backlash existed just because it was a single player. It was a studio known for single player that followed a live service that did trend chasing. So when we talk about these things and we talk about the economics of games, I don't know, I think it's worth like trying to split those audiences and figure out if there's, I don't know, if there's merit to the disappointments and the exhaustion from one or the other. And I hope that makes sense, because I think what happens is people are like Concord 2 and it gets obnoxious and annoying. And so that just devolves into people harassing developers on the internet.
Yeah.
Instead of there being like a real cultural backlash to an economic system that is not, that like does not have to exist. I don't think, you know, am I making any sense here?
It is a, oh Lord, it's you're kind of hitting it on the nail as far as like we are in a generational, like systemic type of gaming that changes. Games can no longer be enjoyed by and large naturally, if that makes sense. So Highguard comes out. The very loud minority, or the group that we're talking about, who already is like, we hate live service.
Sure.
This looks like shit. This sucks. Is very loud. Those who don't know what they're doing when they play games, then they just kind of like play games. They'll hear that and they'll go, "Oh, I heard that game sucks. I guess I won't play it."
There's
and
like
then yeah. Whereas we look back 20 years ago, you went to Blockbuster, you went to Hollywood Video, or Game Crazy, wherever. And you said, "Oh, I want to rent Jak and Daxter." and you go there and Jack and Daxter is out. Oh, well, I can't play Jack and Daxter. What else is here? What can I play? Find, I don't know, like Vex or Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, or another like derivative of Jack and Daxter.
Yeah.
That may become your favorite game, you know. And as time goes on, like the average person can't make up their own mind anymore because it's made for them.
Yes.
Nowadays,
yes,
due to like the
ubiquity of like live
the virality of
yeah,
the loudness of
yes.
those people. So
and it's free to play. Like games have never been more available.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
They're both at the same time. Video games are both more expensive and cheaper than ever at the same exact time, which I think has like frayed our sense of like what a game is and how much it's worth and what does it mean to pay $30 for a game, right? Like,
but that's also like because we're talking about the loud minority who hates these games, but it's like Oppenheimer. It's paradoxical, but it works because you also do have that average person who, if they happen to be looking at the store and they go, oh, Highguard, oh, it's free to play, I guess I'll give it a shot because it's free. Like you have that audience you have to take into account as well. So you have both extremes that like, kind of like...
And that I don't think that casual audience existed as much as it does now 20 years ago.
No, it doesn't. Because that free-to-play system is now exists compared to back then.
Yeah, like I remember when Call of Duty was like a thing that it like the jokes about Call of Duty didn't always exist.
Yeah.
It wasn't always, 420 Blaze It, Doritos and Mountain Dew.
XXX Sniper.
Exactly.
420
like that
XXX.
came into like the late 2010s. So I don't know. So I find just this whole situation is fascinating, and my gut thing is like maybe do what games did back in the day, and that's apparently they were planning on doing some kind of single player campaign portion for Highguard.
Yeah.
There was an idea for it. And that's never gonna see the light of day. But like if you were to announce Highguard, right?
Yeah.
And what if you did do a single player campaign a la Halo? And at the Game Awards, you say, hey, this is our new game. It's called Highguard. It features this Mr. John High and Lucy Guard, and they're gonna go fight the bad guys, and here's our main characters, here's what our story's about. You can play co-op, you can upgrade your characters, whatever. Oh, and our multiplayer mode, which is free to play, right? You do the Halo Infinite thing,
right?
Like, wouldn't the reaction to that maybe be better because there's like more there?
Well, not
you're offering, like, it's not just that you're offering more, but also like your game has like a concrete narrative as opposed to like, did you hear what the character said 5 minutes ago when they were talking to each other?
Right.
Whatever.
And in my opinion, I think despite how Highguard was received, I do think its aesthetic premise is really neat because people kind of love that stuff. Like, oh wow, it kind of looks medieval-esque, high fantasy, but they have guns. Yeah, if there was like a story to that, like, it would be interesting to an extent. Like I know I'm being very, I don't know if I'm being facetious when I said to an extent too human. Like its story was kind of like a futuristic Norse mythology. Like, so, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Like it's, execution was awful, but guarantee that's somebody's favorite game nowadays.
No. I'm only laughing because somewhere Obi-Wan Kenobi is just, now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
but yeah, I'm sure that would have went way better if
you had some kind of single player, some kind of portion that and I don't even know if it is a minority. There's an overlap.
Yes, there is an overlap.
The circles overlap.
Mm-hmm.
But it's loud, and there's Schadenfreude. I think a lot of people that made the Concord 2 joke were excited for they want to see these companies fall because they're tired of how the economic systems have treated them. And
how many times do we have to tell you, old man?
Yeah, and I think that's an urge that you should resist because an artist is just working in the games industry.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would love to make games for free, but they can't. But again, it's like you have to have the systemic economic critique as opposed to fuck you for making this dumb game. I hope you lose your job, which is like what we get on social media and shit, which doesn't progress any kind of discussion or anything. But okay, Connor, sorry. Was there anything you wanted to say about this?
No, I think you guys hit all the key talking points on it.
Sorry, we went off a little bit.
That's okay. I'm going to say it's okay, even though you're apologizing to Connor.
Okay.
PlayStation is moving away. Oh, Connor, are you about to say something?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. PlayStation is moving away from PC. This is another Jason Schreier, which, you know, because this isn't like a sad...
Jason
I can actually play the... Jason Schreier says Sony no longer plans to bring its big PS5 games on PC. Online games like Marathon and Marvel Tokon, what is it, Tokon?
Yeah.
Tokon?
You got it.
Will be cross-platform, but single-player titles like Ghost of Yotei and Saros, which I cannot wait for, will stay PS5 exclusive. Schreier speculates this could be due to several recent PlayStation games not selling well on PC, and a faction within PlayStation has expressed concern that putting games on PC risks damaging the console's brand. Another factor, which I think is probably the most likely, is the next Xbox will be able to play PC games somehow. So if you can play PC games and PlayStation games are on PC, won't that mean you can play PlayStation games on an Xbox? And that's not something PlayStation will want to do. And we're also going to talk about, I'm going to rope these two things in because they're kind of related. So Asha Sharma, oh my god, Sharma. I'm sorry.
Hey, it happens, man.
I had some really good shawarma the other day. Okay, it was pita jungle.
Yeah.
There was tomato, some garlic sauce. I've got it on my mind. I apologize. Asha Sharma confirms Project Helix. She tweeted, "Great start to the morning with Team Xbox. Where we talked about our commitment to the return of Xbox, including Project Helix, the codename for our next generation console. Project Helix will lead in performance and play your Xbox and PC games. Looking forward to chatting with this more with partners and studios at my first GDC next week." Okay, so we have two like different stories here about these companies' strategies. Xbox is going forward with their console, their next-gen console, and they're doing this PC thing, and who knows how that's going to turn out. PlayStation is pulling back from PC. It could be in relation to this. It could be in relation to other things. But they have won this generation, but it doesn't seem like it matters that they won. They showed up, they scored like 100 points, and they looked across the court, and the other team like hadn't even shown up yet. So did they really win? Or, you know, we don't know. Okay, so let's go with PlayStation first, or just however you want to start. What do you think of all of this? If you can play your PC games on an Xbox, does that de-incentivize? Would that change, like, de-incentivize your thoughts about purchasing a console? Or you're all of a sudden leaning more Xbox? Does that take you away from your Steam Deck or your PC even? And then obviously the Steam machine is a thing that's going to exist as well. I have some thoughts, but I'll let you guys go first.
You asked a couple questions that I feel like I want to answer.
I'm sorry.
I feel like I want to answer them first, but I'm gonna go to like the PlayStation thing first.
That's fine.
Yeah, the PlayStation moving away from PC is kind of this weird thing to where I completely understand why they may be doing this, but I also don't think they should, because it doesn't hurt to just put the game on PC, in my opinion. Of course, more sales and whatnot. However, the games that Sony makes are system sellers.
Yeah.
So you need them for your system. What I think they may possibly be seeing, I'm just making an assumption, is that you can only get so many sales on PC, and then it stops. It dries up. But your console sales still keep going strong, because there is still that small stigma towards PC gaming, where if someone hears the phrase PC gaming, if the average person came into my store and they heard the phrase PC gaming, then they're going to ask, what about a graphics card? What about a power supply? What about this? What about that? You know, and it's still very scary to them because people still don't know how to sync Wii remotes to their consoles. You know, like it's a thing that happens. So I think that for Sony, what they're looking at is the ability to consistently sell consoles more steady as time goes on with the release of these exclusives that they have. That being said, though, once again, it won't hurt them put it on both.
Yeah.
But I think they're just kind of like seeing how far the branch grows, and then it just stops, and then they go, oh, get rid of that. Lop that off, and then keep going. Yeah. The Xbox, I heard, this Project Helix thing was interesting, but I also read somebody hearsay that the only reason this console was coming out is because of the R&D costs that they made for it. They were already deep into the R&D, so instead of like cutting it, they're just making this console.
Yeah, that's a hilarious reason to release a game console,
right? But after
you exist because
use of the sunk cost fallacy.
right. Yeah. But from what I understand, like after this is the last thing they'll release as part of the Xbox line, is what they said. They're just releasing it, but once again, hearsay. So I don't know about it is interesting.
That would make sense.
Yeah, because if Sharma is going, oh yeah, first GDC, yeah, we're bringing back Xbox. 6 years from now, after it's run its course, Project Helix, 6-7 years from now, they can go, that was fun, bye. You know, because how many they're banking on people to forget. Like people won't forget, of course, but you know. Things will be different 6 years from now.
Yeah.
You know, than 6-7 years from now than they are today. It's good for them, but yeah, like, who are you? How are you making your money? You're not selling systems, so you're probably going to focus on your accessories, right? Your controllers, because controllers is where they make the money. It's low cost to make, but your profits are greater. Add in a little bit of stick drift. Baby, you got yourself stew going. You know, that's consistent money right there. You know, they can release accessories, but yeah, like I don't know what they can release this console, but honestly, they can push Microsoft Store and Game Pass all they want, but someone who buys it goes, "Oh, this can do Steam? Cool. I'm going to Steam. Like I'm not using anything else."
Yeah,
and I think that could be the fear as well for Project Helix.
So that's the thing that I'm sorry for bridging these two things together. That was an executive decision I shouldn't have made.
We're
so on PlayStation,
crunch.
I agree that it seems like you're tossing the baby out with the bathwater a little bit, because like, are you really not? I'm sure there's a cost to porting these games. Are you really not making that money back? Like, even though some of them haven't sold, apparently, are you really selling so few that it's just not a sustainable business practice? Is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Is it that, I don't know, it like damaging the console? Has it damaged the console at all? The branding of the console? Like, I don't think it has. PlayStation has been my main console this generation. Yeah. My only console from this generation. Well, I have a Switch too, so never mind, I take that back. My massively main console this generation. I don't see, I mean, maybe like in the PlayStation forums where people like have like, you know, circle, square, X, triangle tattooed on their foreheads, they're like complaining or something, I don't know. But outside of that, I don't know if I've seen a bunch of people like angry that games are coming out. The thing that people are angriest about is things like signing, like your forced PlayStation Online accounts and stuff like that, which is that layer of friction that you don't need. Which I think the thing that makes the most sense is that they see this Xbox thing and they're like, well, we're just going to pull back. But it could be any of the factors. But I just, unless you aren't making back your money from porting the games, I don't see why you wouldn't want that secondary market there, which seems like it has been nothing but a boon for PlayStation. Yeah, you're only making 70% of that because Steam's the middleman, but that's 3 years after the game came out. Who cares, right? And you're still selling consoles, so it's not like that has hurt the PS5 from a units shipped standpoint, I don't think. So I didn't totally I don't, but you know what? PlayStation is also doing a bunch of random shit that nobody understands either.
Yeah.
Their live service push was a disaster. Bluepoint is now gone, even though it doesn't seem like they need to be gone at all, which is dumb. Bluepoint wanted to do I don't know if you guys saw the story, wanted to do a Bloodborne remake. Apparently, From Software said no, and that's super complicated. I'm sure it has to do with like stupid lawyer bullshit. But it's like you couldn't PlayStation, you couldn't find anything for Bluepoint to do. Make a new Resistance game. Like I don't know. Make a new make a new Infamous. Do an Infamous spinoff. Do an Infamous remake. Remake the great. Infamous. Like I don't know. I'm sure they had these ideas too, and maybe reasons that they didn't do it. But it's just that's just a Bluepoint rant. But when it comes to Xbox, I kind of have the same feeling you have. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like their heart's set on it.
No.
Asha Sharma, when she was announced as the head of Xbox, Connor and I talked about it on the show, and it just came off.
Thanks for the invite.
You were gone that day. But she came off as very like patronizing, and it was just very like, you're here to. You're the I don't know,
sunsetter.
Yeah, exactly. You're the quarterback between, well, in this case, the franchise is going to shut down. But in a better analogy, you're like one of the 4 quarterbacks between, a Hall of Fame quarterback and then 15 years later, another Hall of Fame quarterback or something. But in this case, the franchise just closes. You're like a Warren Moon, but not this metaphor is stupid. I'm stopping it right now.
Warren Moon was Vikings, right?
Houston Oilers.
What?
Yeah, back in the Dizzy. I think you may be thinking Randall Cunning. It doesn't matter. I got to get back on track. So Xbox like doesn't feel like their heart is in on it. So it's just hard for me to take anything that Asha Sharma or anybody at Xbox says seriously, because I know Satya Nadella will be like, yeah, that's great. Now let me tell you about how short form video is the real competitor to video games, or let me tell you about our AI initiative bullshit, or how we're banning microslop from our Discord servers or whatever. Like, so you just see that and you're like, how could a company like this give a shit about a tech sector that is increasingly fraught with hardware costs and with production costs and all that stuff, when they just don't care. And when a company like Valve, which consistently eats Microsoft's lunch. I mean, at this point, Valve may even have a better operating system, but consistently eats Microsoft's lunch, and they're releasing their own console, which it will not be able to play Xbox games, but it is going to be PC games. And if you are a PC gamer like me, or all of us, and Xbox is still putting their games on Steam or on PC, right? And you have the choice between a Helix and a Steam machine. And with the Steam machine, you get all your Steam stuff. Your Steam library is going to be there. Steam sales are going to be there. Yep. You get it from a company that is focused on games. They are a game-centric company. Do you really give a shit that you can't put Xbox discs into it?
Right.
I'm, as much as I love physical games, I have my PlayStation for that, and I have my Switch 2 for that. Yep. And I'll, games that don't have physical copies, I'll get it and I'll include it in my Steam library. What incentive do I have to even mess with Microsoft's next thing, right? Yeah. Especially with whatever they're going to do with AI, whatever sectors of their business are not focused on games that they're going to try and shove into the Xbox business to appease like shareholders that need their diapers changed or whatever, right? So I guess part of the reason that I just don't take Xbox seriously is their history.
Well, they've shown time and time again that they don't take it seriously.
Yes. Yeah. And 2, there's a new competitor on the horizon. Now, there's a lot up in the air with that because we don't know, again, hardware costs. Who knows what's going to happen with the Steam machine? The AI bubble cannot burst quickly enough. But Connor, please share your thoughts. I apologize. You sound like Xbox contemplating whether or not they should stay in the games business. Yeah, is there anything you wanna bounce off of what we were just saying?
I don't know. It really feels like this is they're just what's the word? They're not necessarily a swan song, but they're just sending Xbox out to pasture.
Yeah, and that surprises me because I feel like there's still a market for game consoles. It's just you have to be okay with it being a market for game there is a market for croissants in the world.
Yeah.
And if you make and sell croissants and you're good at that, you're going to sell croissants. But the thing is, if you're making and selling croissants and you're like, okay, now we need to break into steel foundries, it's like, well, what are you doing? Yeah. That's not your business. Like, but that's not an indictment on croissants. That's an indictment on you being dumb and trying to break into steel foundries.
Yeah, and there's varying degrees of how these three companies, how the three gaming companies, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, approach these things, and it's Nintendo is like, we love games. You're gonna play a game on our console. That's it. Like, you're gonna play a game. You're gonna like that game, and that's fine. Sony is like, hey guys, we do games, or let's back this up. Nintendo's like, you love croissants. You're just croissants.
Eat this croissant.
Sony's like, guys, croissants are cool. This is our main bag is croissants. But you could also have a croissant with some chocolate in it, like the Netflix or the a little bit. But hey, we got croissants too. And then Xbox is like, croissants didn't quite work, so we're gonna do hamburgers. Hamburgers aren't really working, so we're gonna do pancakes. But pancakes aren't really working either, so we're gonna. And now Xbox is just like, well, we can't pay the rent anymore, so we're closing down.
That's a much better job than what I did.
And so that's the Xbox One. Instead of making games, instead of focusing on the games, we're an entertainment machine for all your entertainment needs.
Yeah, which
started this whole process.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the line, even though we had somebody who supposedly cared about those games, couldn't deliver.
Well, I think Phil Spencer, who I'm assuming you're talking about, genuinely, I think he's a
genuine
nerd.
I still agree that
he's also a company man.
Yes.
He's gonna deliver the company lines. He's gonna say, hey, we need to grow this business and blah blah blah. I would say though, in our time covering the games industry, doing this show, he was one of the few executives I think that had a real passion about games.
Yeah.
Was that reduced by his parent company? Probably. I do have a slight soft side for Phil Spencer, but at the same time, Microsoft did a bunch of stupid decisions with layoffs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel that bad. But there are people out there that don't have jobs. Tango Gameworks had to be saved by Krafton because Xbox got bored and decided to just close studios. So, in a similar vein, I think Herman Holst is similar with PlayStation, right? Mm-hmm. A guy he came from Guerrilla Games. So this is a guy that definitely I think came from the tech nerd side of gaming, got into the corpo side, and now probably has
to clean up Jim Ryan's mess.
Yeah, and he has a similar, I think, ethos to what Phil Spencer has. But at the end of the day, he is also a company man that's going to deliver the company lines and stuff like that. Now that they don't have that and they have somebody there who I think is just going to regurgitate AI talking points and I don't think has any real passion for games. I think that's going to accelerate that. If there is going to be a decline here, I think it's nothing but going to accelerate it. And Connor and I both speculated that Sharma could be out within a couple years.
Yeah,
because this is just hey, we need somebody here. Go to GDC, say the right things. Yeah. Talk about how cool Halo is, and then you'll leave for some other, much like Amazon, how there's at different executives at Amazon, what have you, right? Yeah. A company that is not a gaming company that kind of has to figure out, that wants to deal with video games but doesn't want to put in the effort to actually figure it out, which sucks because there is a market for another console out there. There is a market for Xbox, and the other thing is I just want to complain about the Xbox One a little bit because
Yeah,
people
go for
will
it.
be like, it was ahead of its time. And it's like, well, was it really?
I hate that phrase.
Because PlayStation basically did what Xbox One was doing.
Yeah.
You could get Netflix on PlayStation. Was it ahead of its time that it forced connectivity? No. Was it ahead of its time that it did hour check-ins to see if you're on the internet?
It still does, by the way.
Many of these things were reversed, but they didn't need to be there, and they probably don't need to be there now, right? So it's like all these restrictions and all these frictions in the ecosystem didn't have to be there. This idea that the Xbox One was ahead of its time, I always kind of scoff at, because it's like, it wasn't ahead of its time. It was doing something that made sense, but PlayStation did that fine as well, and they had so much momentum. There was so much, whatever decisions went into the Xbox One, for whatever reason, whether it was hubris, whether it was corpo nonsense, whatever, changed the history of video games to a seismic degree that here we are 15 years later, 16 years later, whatever.
Right.
And we're still talking about the effects of that as if it happened last year, because it's so easy to follow and connect the dots. So I don't know. So I'm never going to not be angry about the Xbox One because it was such a colossal misstep. And like they had won the 360 era, right? And think about that for a second. The PS2 is like the most successful console of all time. You come out swinging with the Xbox, you're the new kid on the block, and the first thing you do is deck and knock out Sony, right? And then after that, you just sit on the pavement and you give up. What? Right. And Sony gets right back up and now they're king again. It's just so, I don't know. So it's frustrating. But I will never believe that there is not, that like Microsoft just can't sustain a gaming business. I feel like you could if you wanted to. You're just focused on making all your other products and services worse. Yeah. and trying to force Copilot down everyone's eyes. Like,
leave me alone.
You know,
this is why I'm moving to Linux.
Good luck with that. As much as I want to move to Linux, I don't know.
Hey, you got to learn, man.
But it's just so difficult. Dolphin? Why do you call your file manager Dolphin? What?
I don't know, because it's smart. Maybe.
Is it Dolphin or something? I don't
Dolphins
know,
are pretty smart.
I can't do Linux. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say, Connor?
I don't think so.
Richard, anything else you want to say?
Not about this topic, but I had a pretty bad week regarding Castlevania and Pokemon.
Okay, we'll do a Richard's Corner.
That's fine, sure.
We'll do a tidbits.
What if I told you
this
in
is
this
unofficial
world
tidbits? We can't do the heart. We can't do the explosion.
there are tids?
I shouldn't even play
And Richard
the
is
sound.
the only man who can put them together
Richard hasn't been here for a while.
into tidbits.
We'll give him that.
It should be like an old man yells at cloud, like Taylor. But man, no, of course, I already made the wrong mistake of being on Twitter, but still to this day. But man, like the announcement of the Pokemon Leaf Green and Fire Red, like on Switch for like $20 each, made so many people angry, and on Twitter.
Why were they angry on?
Because you shouldn't be paying $20 for an old game.
Were they remakes?
No, they're ROMs. They're just ROMs. Like they just re-released, which is like kind of, yeah, sure. They did a couple things behind the scenes for the ROMs because there are differences.
Yeah.
But there's no like, you just start the game and it loads up. Like there are no like extra options. And so people kind of complain about like the options and stuff, which is I can understand. But one thing about Pokemon is that cheat devices and all this stuff are very much used, but if it comes from Nintendo themselves, they don't want you to do that stuff. Yeah. So they're not going to add a rewind feature for you to get, a 1 in 30,000 chance to get a shiny Pokemon. Like they're not going to do that for you. They're not going to,
Yeah.
But if you've ever played Pokemon, in my opinion, despite how old it is, $20 is a hell of a deal for Pokemon. Granted, they were $10 on the 3DS for some of them, but when that game alone is $150 if you want to get it physically, $20 doesn't seem so bad. So I had to endure watching all of those like conversations happening. But
Yeah, I could see both sides of that discussion, I guess.
oh yeah, but
it's ridiculous that like Call of Duties are still $25-$30 on Steam.
the same
like,
with Madden.
Like
the show and
it's
all
just
that
like
stuff.
there's no reason that these games need to be that expensive.
Sure, I can agree. But how many people I've heard bought the game who come into my store? It's no problem for Nintendo, man. They just dropping that money. So
Yeah.
but Castlevania is the weird one because Castlevania got a new Castlevania game that got announced. And from it, apparently, from it, the ashes came the Castlevania fans who never reared their faces ever.
Yeah.
And now they have. And apparently, the Castlevania show is the worst thing that could ever happen to Castlevania ever.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's very weird because it ruins too much of the lore. And to that I ask, what lore? So, of course, I'm being facetious. Like there's absolutely a lore, but like for an NES Castlevania game that the show is based off of, there's like a paragraph of lore, and it's like you can kind of just make up whatever you want after that. There's other big major plot points, but the show has ruined characters and has ruined the timeline. But with the announcement of the new Castlevania video game, we are now playing as the daughter of Trevor Belmont from the show.
Okay. Oh, cool.
And this is cool because going on my Castlevania autism rant, it could be Sonia Belmont, who originally was from a 1999 game called Castlevania Legends, which is not in the canon whatsoever. Like it was so bad they were like, no, that doesn't exist. And so she's been thrust into like the aether of like Castlevania characters.
Obscurity.
And so her visual look is very much Sypha. She kind of looks like her outfit is very Sypha-esque.
Like a monk kind of?
Yeah. But her like ponytail and her hairstyle is dead ringer for Sonia Belmont. So fans are surmising that they're finding a way to bring her into the actual like canonical timeline because she was the original Belmont. Before anyone else. And I think at the end of the game, her and Alucard get together, and that does the whole thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. But because eventually the Belmonts have magic. They do have magic. Yeah, they have a whip and whatnot, but they can harness magic and stuff like that. Anyways, so I just had to deal with because I'm liking Castlevania stuff, and I'm like, great, this game, I can't wait. It's the feed is like, oh, you like Castlevania stuff? Here's everything people are talking about Castlevania, but it's all negative, and it's all like, my God, you people! Like, I've almost had to like mute Castlevania phrases because I'm just like, I don't want to converse with any of you because you guys are just awful.
I need to
don't
go back.
enjoy anything.
I need to go back and play Symphony of the Night more. I was enjoying it. I got I forget what the last boss I fought was, but that was a legitimately enjoyable game. One of the things about it is I feel like modern controllers, I don't know, sometimes I feel like modern controllers aren't like suited for those, like, remember when I was playing Mega Man?
Yeah.
It's like you can do it on a modern DualSense, but it's like you're trying to drive like a course in a new sports car. So it's like the car is much better than the cars they had back then.
Right. Okay.
But the course was not made for a car like this. I don't know if that makes sense.
That does make sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
So, like, I feel like, because with the moves you have to do with Alucard and stuff, and going back and forth, like, I feel like there has to be some kind of controller, or maybe older controllers that, if I were to tell, like, go back in time and play on an original PlayStation controller, I'd be like, this feels a bit better because it's more of like a basic controller.
Yeah. Nintendo does it. Like, Nintendo's made a GameCube controller, a 64 controller, whatever.
Yeah.
Sony should make like a classic controller for it. That would be kind of cool, actually.
That would be awesome.
I like that. Yeah.
But I need to go back and play Symphony of the Night because that was a damn good game.
That was very good.
That was a damn good game.
There's a reason why it's always like pointed at, one of the best. And you can tell if you've played that and played something like Blasphemous or any of those newer titles, you can tell that you can see where they get it from, but it's not quite the same because there's other injections of other genres inside of there. But yeah, the new Castlevania is supposedly going to be very much styled like all the other ones.
I need to watch the trailer. Was there a trailer for it?
There was.
Okay, I need to watch the trailer for it.
Very cool.
Okay, follow us, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. We will see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.